Earlier this morning, we talked about the two best teams in the AFC. We were comparing Kansas City and Baltimore. But after watching that Steeler defense just shut down Saquon last night, and Big Ben coming back, and you figure probably getting better as the weeks go by, should the Steelers be in this conversation? Should we be talking about a big three in the AFC?
Absolutely. Absolutely, G. And listen, this is a part of what is going to take down the stretch. Obviously, with Big Ben coming back, this defense is going to have to continue to make plays, put the ball in his hands, and shut down the best players for the opposing team. Saquon Barkley, like you mentioned, had 6 yards on 15 carries. Do you know on those 15 carries, G, 8 of those were negative play where he was hit in the backfield? The penetration, the guys up front, T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, Cam Hayward, Bush in the middle, Minka Fitzpatrick on the back end. Every level has a guy that can be a game changer. So now you point to the fact that they were good last year when it comes to record and an opportunity to get in the postseason. Now you add a Hall of Famer in Big Ben who seemed to catch his stride as the game went along. Why wouldn't they be in the conversation? Obviously, Baltimore is in their division, and we know what Kansas City is. But if you ever count Pittsburgh out, the way they play in defense and with Big Ben controlling at the helm, that'll be crazy for you to do. They are firmly in the conversation.
Yeah, Jeff Saturday, I'll just keep giving this stat over and over again. They were 8-3 last year in games in which they scored at least 11 points. 11. Ben Roethlisberger should do that in his sleep. So is there a big three in your mind, Jeff Saturday, in the AFC?
Absolutely. And a week ago when we talked about a bold prediction of the Steelers possibly winning this division, I don't back down from that. You're talking about a guy, Ben Roethlisberger's 110-10 when the Steelers allow 20 points or fewer. Last season, with no quarterback and barely a running game, they gave up 19. This defense can help win a championship. This defense can lead this team to a championship. And when you put Roethlisberger back in there, you saw last night, Benny Snell started getting touches. Next thing you know, he rushes for $113. Why? Because teams understand that Roethlisberger can take advantage of you down the field. As this team grows week in and week out, this is a scary football team. And it is definitely a big three, not a big two when you're talking about the AFC right now.
All right, so Greg, let's go then to what we saw specifically from Roethlisberger last night. What did you see from him in his return? Once he shook off some of the rust, he certainly was effective last night. What did you see?
Early jitters, naturally, and some nerves. And he really looked out of sorts the first couple drives. But once he had a good feel for what they were doing defensively, particularly when they were in man coverage, he knew exactly where to find the mismatches. The coverage recognition was tremendous. Look at this. Backside safety, spins down into the box. He knows there's a vacated area on the left side of the field, so what does he do? He works a big old tight end in Ebron against Jabril Peppers. That's a mismatch all day long. I love this. Cover zero, all-out pressure. You can't block him. All you got to do is buy time and beat him with your arm. So what does he do? Drift a little bit right to the away from the unblocked defender, throws it with air underneath it to allow Juju to run under it after really nice separation. Similar coverage to the first play, too. Here's where he spins down backside, and then without even staring at it, he recognizes the phase that the wide receiver and the corner are in on the right side of the screen. The corner was on top of the wide receiver, so what does he do? He throws the perfect back shoulder. So Ben is not going to be what he was 10 years ago by running around, extending plays, evading defensive linemen as they're completely wrapped up around him. That's not who he is at this point. But he's played 17 years, and he's seen every single thing that you can possibly throw at him defensively. So his savvy and his coverage recognition is what can elevate this team offensively, especially as those wide receivers and him continue to get more and more comfortable throughout the course of the season.
I love it when Marcus raises his hand. Go ahead, big fella.
I'm listening to Mac talk, and another point I wanted to raise, gee, this could be a devastating wide receiver cast if Chase Claypool continues to develop.
Yes.
Being with a big-time wide receiver, a big-body guy that can go up and make those 50-50 plays. We saw Juju kind of go down last year, obviously, from quarterback play. And then James, man, listen, this team, when watching them, and I know it's the Giants, we got to keep it in perspective, but it's Big Ben along with the cast of guys that can really do it. James Conner gets healthy. Benny Snell continues to run hard like he's been doing since his days at Kentucky. Man, this team's serious now. They serious. And with these wide receivers continuing to develop, Ben gets more and more confident, and we know who Ben Roethlisberger is late in games with guys that can make plays.
Benny Snell ran for 113 yards last night. And Dan Graziano, you know what? There's a famous line Jerry Krause said, that organizations win championships, not players. And I think back to a year ago when Roethlisberger got hurt, there were people sitting on this set who said, you know what? They should just give up on the season, start thinking about starting with a new quarterback and all the rest of that. They doubled down on their own team, right? They made that trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick. We all questioned it at the time. They counted on getting Ben back and competing this year, and at least through one game, they looked like they had that exactly right.
And it gets back to that philosophy you're talking about with Jerry Krause. They believe in their organization. Marcus is talking about wide receivers. There's no team that's drafted and developed wide receivers better than Pittsburgh has over the years. We see the running back depth in case Connor can't get all the way through the season, as has been the case. The one thing that could set them back is Roethlisberger, if he's not healthy. And even earlier in his career, he's never been a guy that you could count on to play all 16 games. But Pittsburgh believes that if he's back, that they're a real contender. Baltimore's great. They're my pick to win the Super Bowl. But they're going to have a harder time with Pittsburgh this year, head-to-head and in the division standings than they had last year.
Yeah, and bear in mind, there's only one team that's going to get a bye in either conference. So those are not easy to come by, and it could wind up making a big difference. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.